They say the rarest things don't need to shout. They just exist, quietly, beautifully, and on their own terms. Like that one classmate who never talked to anyone, never joined any group project, and still somehow topped the exam. That's the ghost orchid. Unbothered, untouchable, untraceable. You could walk right past it in the wild and never notice, until you realize it was never growing from the ground in the first place. Because this orchid doesn't even have leaves. Yes, you heard right, a plant, no leaves, no photosynthesis the way normal plants do, just tangled roots hanging in midair like it's freeloading off the tree trunk. Which it is, by the way. The ghost orchid doesn't grow in soil. It clings to trees in swampy, humid places like Florida and Cuba. So basically it chose the luxury penthouse suite of the plant world and refuses to come down. It's a total minimalist. No leaves, no stem, no interest in your gardening tips. It lives off moisture and nutrients from the air and from the bark it's stuck to, like it pays rent in vibes. It's what's known as an epiphyte, which is just a fancy term for plant that crashes at another plant's place rent-free. And it's not just clinging to any tree, it's incredibly picky about which host it chooses. Mostly it goes for the pop ash or pond apple trees, which are about as glamorous as their names suggest, swampy, twisted, half-drowned trees that smell like they've seen things. Oh, and get this, some people go their whole lives hoping to see one in bloom. And fail. Why? Because ghost orchids are what plant biologists call annoyingly picky. Okay, not the official term, but close. They only bloom under very specific conditions, and even then, maybe 2 weeks in the entire year. No drama, just vibe and vanish. Some don't bloom at all in a given year, and when they do decide to grace the world with their presence, it's almost always from June to August. And just one flower per plant, sometimes 2. If you're lucky, maybe 3. Honestly, Beyoncé is less exclusive. In some regions like the Caribbean, they've been known to bloom in winter because, why not keep things unpredictable? Researchers trying to track their blooming cycles often describe it as guesswork with a side of swamp rash. And speaking of blooming, let's talk about how it gets pollinated, because it's just as ridiculous. The ghost orchid doesn't trust just any insect with its business. It relies almost exclusively on one type of moth, the giant sphinx moth. This moth has a tongue so long it could poke fun at giraffes. Only that moth can reach the nectar buried deep inside the orchid's long floral tube. That's not a coincidence, by the way, it's by design. Evolution said, nah, let's make it complicated. The flower opens at night, because of course it does. It's too mysterious to be seen in daylight like every other basic flower. It emits a sweet, almost soap-like scent that only the moth can trace. No, really, this plant literally waits for a night-flying, long-tongued specialist to show up like it's a secret guest list at an elite party. And the moth, it's not even always in the area, they migrate. So the orchid is just out here hoping someone shows up to keep the family tree going. That's not pollination, that's gambling. Fun fact, for over a century no one was even sure what was pollinating it, people just assumed. And in science, when you start assuming, that's when things get wild. It wasn't until 2008, yes, 2008, that the pollinator was finally caught on camera. A giant sphinx moth was finally filmed doing its job in the Florida wild, like some kind of fuzzy, nectar-slurping celebrity caught by the paparazzi. Also, the flower is called the ghost orchid because when it finally does bloom, it seems to float mid-air, like a pale, eerie whisper in the jungle. And that's not just poetic fluff. The roots blend so perfectly with the moss-covered trees that the flower looks like it's suspended in thin air, just haunting the forest with zero apologies. No stem, no leaves, just flower. It's white, pure white, and shaped like a little ghost doing jazz hands, which is ironically adorable for something so elusive. Some species of ghost orchids even produce flowers that twist slightly as they bloom, adding to their weird, otherworldly look. And let's not forget, this is all happening in swamps filled with mosquitoes, snakes, and the occasional alligator just chilling under your canoe. And it doesn't even glow or sparkle or anything flashy, it just silently flexes its whiteness like, you'll find me when I want to be found. And even then, you'll need binoculars, boots, and probably emotional support. Some people have trekked into alligator-infested swamps for hours, camped out in bug-filled heat, just to catch a glimpse of one bloom. They bring high-powered binoculars, special cameras, patience, and sometimes a therapist afterward. Because that's how rare these things are. Want to grow one at home? Good luck. They hate being touched. Most attempts to cultivate them in captivity fail miserably. They need their exact microclimate, the right tree species, the right fungus in the roots, the right humidity. Miss one detail? Dead orchid. They've tried growing it in labs, in botanical gardens, even in Florida greenhouses. It either dies, refuses to bloom, or just sulks for years like it's holding a grudge. The roots form a bond with a very specific kind of fungus. If that fungus isn't there, forget it. Yes, this plant has a fungal bestie, and without it, it's like, nope, not living. Even when it's growing properly, the root system is the star of the show. Those roots are green and photosynthesize directly, like the orchid said, "Who needs leaves when I've got style?" Basically, if plants had personalities, the ghost orchid is that mysterious loner who doesn't attend family functions, never texts back, but when they show up, everyone stops to stare. And no, they're not extinct. Just reclusive, which is somehow worse. Florida's Fakahatchee Strand is one of the last strongholds for these orchids, and even there, spotting one is like finding a celebrity in the wild, if the celebrity only showed up once every 5 years, at night, in a swamp. Researchers sometimes tag them with tiny cameras to observe pollination in real time, because catching it live is that rare. One pollination caught on film in 2008 literally made headlines in the botanical world. That's how serious it is. In fact, in the UK, a ghost orchid sighting in 2009 made national news, because they thought it was extinct. Then, poof, one shows up like, "Miss me?" No warning, no press release, just showed up in a Herefordshire woodland after 23 years of silence. And here's the kicker. The ghost orchid doesn't even need to flower every year to survive. It can go dormant for years at a time, surviving through its root system alone. So technically, it could be alive somewhere out there right now, plotting its next random dramatic reappearance. And while most plants spread their seeds with the wind or by hitching a ride on animals, ghost orchids use a more discreet method. Microscopic seeds, released into the air like dust. Each plant can release millions of them. But only a microscopic fraction actually land in a place where the fungus they need is present. So, basically their reproduction strategy is spray and pray. So yeah, the ghost orchid isn't just rare, it's nature's version of catch me if you can. And odds are you won't. But hey, we can always obsess from afar, like everyone does with celebrities who don't have Instagram. Now, if you made it this far, congrats. You officially have better attention span than 90% of the internet. You should reward yourself. Maybe, I don't know, hit that subscribe button? Not saying it'll make a ghost orchid appear in your backyard. But hey, stranger things have happened. And if not, at least your algorithm will start treating you like someone who actually has taste. Stay rare, stay weird, and remember, if a flower can ghost people for decades and still be iconic, so can you. Catch you later, plant detectives.